Okay, in this video we're going to talk about multiples and the least common multiple. So multiples technically are the result or product of multiplying a number by an integer, by any integer. So examples of multiples of 6 are 6, 0 times 6 is 0, 1 times 6 is 6, 2 times 6 is 12, and 3 times 6 is 18. So the result of those multiplication problems where 6 is involved, multiplied by an integer, are 0, 6, 12, and 18. They're all multiples of 6. You might notice that 6 is a factor of each of its multiples. So that's a nice relationship to notice. But not both numbers of the multiplication problem don't have to be integers. So we could find multiples of a fraction. So we could find multiples of a half just by multiplying a half by different integers. So we could find that 0, 1 half, 1, and 1 1/2 are all multiples of 1 half. And you'll notice when you find multiples in order that it's kind of like skip counting. And if you're looking at a multiplication chart, then you can see the multiples. Let me see if I can find my multiplication chart. You can see the multiples of a number really easily by looking down in that column or row of that number. So multiples of 2, we can see 2, 4, 6, 8 because we're multiplying by different integers along the way. Or the multiples of 8 I could find in the 8 column or the 8 row. That's a bad example for the row. Multiples of 6, 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. So we can use our multiplication table to find multiples of whole numbers anyway, really easily. But we're not going to find multiples by multiplying by fractions. So we wouldn't find multiples of 6 by multiplying by 1 1/2. So we wouldn't say that 9 is a multiple of 6 because you would have to multiply 6 times 1 1/2. And that would be a fraction or a mixed number. So that's what a multiple is. Common multiples come in handy sometimes, often when we're thinking about fractions and adding fractions or subtracting fractions. So we want to find multiples that are shared by two different numbers. So if we wanted to find the multiples shared by 2 and 7, it's helpful sometimes to just list out the multiples. So multiples of 2 are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. And multiples of 7 are 7, 14, 21. And really, at this point, I see a common multiple. Sometimes you want to stop at just the lowest common multiple because that's your goal. But you could keep going in both rows to find multiple common multiples. So we could say that 14 is a common multiple of 2 and 7. Or in other words, 2 and 7 are factors of 14 because 14 is a result of both of those numbers getting multiplied by each other, actually. The least common multiple is the lowest common multiple of two numbers, and this often comes in handy with fractions, you'll see. And here's a nice diagram of another way that we can think about multiples. So we could think about skip counting on a number line to find multiples of 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and to count by 5s on the other side to see 5, 10, 15, that they both share 15 as a multiple of 3 and 15. So that is it for multiples and least common multiples. In a separate video, you'll be able to fill out the backside. If you ever have questions about these videos or you think I might have gotten something wrong, feel free to email me or bring a message into class.